Welcome to the History of Simple Things, where we delve into the fascinating history behind the little things that shape our world. Hey everyone! Ever wonder how Converse, those simple canvas sneakers with rubber soles, became a global symbol of style? Converse is one of the most recognizable shoes in the world. From the basketball courts to the streets, and from punk rock shows to the red carpet, Converse shoes have managed to stay relevant for over a century. But their journey from a small rubber company to a cultural icon is filled with interesting twists and turns. Today, we're going to dive into the history of Converse and see how these iconic sneakers became what they are today. The story of Converse begins back in 1908. That's when a man named Marquis Mills Converse, who had been working in the footwear industry for years, decided to start his own company. At first, the Converse Rubber Shoe Company, based in Malden, Massachusetts, focused on creating rubber-soled shoes that were designed for winter wear. Rubber boots were essential in the cold, wet months, and the company was doing just fine in that niche. But Marquis had bigger dreams for his company. He wanted to move beyond just making winter boots. He saw the potential to make shoes for athletes, which was a growing market in the early 20th century. And in 1917, that's exactly what Converse did. They introduced the shoe that would change everything, the Converse All-Star. In 1917, Converse designed a canvas sneaker with a rubber sole that was meant specifically for basketball players. Back then, basketball was still a relatively new sport, having only been invented a few decades earlier in 1891. The All-Star was one of the first shoes made for the game, and its simple yet durable design caught on. But it wasn't until a few years later that Converse made a genius move. They teamed up with a young basketball player named Chuck Taylor. He wasn't just any player. He was passionate about the sport and had a knack for promoting it. He joined the Converse team in the early 1920s as a salesman, and he traveled around the country hosting basketball clinics and promoting the All-Star sneakers. Chuck Taylor suggested some changes to the shoe's design to make it more comfortable for basketball players, and the company listened. They added more padding around the ankle, improved the flexibility, and even included Chuck Taylor's signature on the patch. By 1932, the shoes were officially known as the Chuck Taylor All-Stars. This partnership transformed Converse from a sports shoe into an icon. Throughout the 1930s, 40s, and 50s, Converse dominated the basketball world. If you played basketball, chances were you were wearing Converse Chuck Taylors. They were the shoe of choice for athletes and became the official shoe of the Olympics in 1936. That's right, athletes from all over the world were lacing up their Converse sneakers to represent their countries on one of the biggest stages. During World War II, Converse also made their mark by producing shoes and boots for the U.S. military. But even after the war ended, their presence in the world of basketball only grew stronger. By the 1950s and 60s, nearly every NBA player was wearing Converse on the court. Converse was synonymous with basketball, and the shoes weren't just functional, they were a symbol of success. As the decades went on, Converse expanded beyond basketball. The brand's simplicity, versatility, and classic design began to appeal to more than just athletes. By the 1970s, Converse had found a new home in counterculture and music. Punk rockers, skaters, and artists embraced Converse Chuck Taylors as part of their everyday wardrobe. One reason Converse became so popular in these subcultures is because they were affordable, customizable, and different from mainstream fashion. Bands like the Ramones made Converse part of their signature look, and soon, everyone from rebellious teenagers to established artists was rocking their own pair of Chucks. This shift from basketball shoes to fashion statement happened naturally. The shoes themselves didn't change much, but the way people viewed them did. They became a blank canvas for self-expression. Whether you were drawing on them with markers, scuffing them up, or adding your own twist, Converse became a shoe that represented individuality. But not everything was smooth sailing for Converse. As the 1980s rolled around, the basketball shoe market began to change. Companies like Nike and Adidas were investing heavily in new technologies, and suddenly, Converse's simple canvas design wasn't cutting it on the basketball court anymore. Converse struggled to keep up with the competition, and in the 1990s, the company faced financial difficulties. Despite their rich history and loyal fan base, the brand couldn't keep up with the rapidly evolving sneaker market. By 2001, Converse had filed for bankruptcy. It seemed like the story of Converse might be coming to an end. But Converse's story was far from over. In 2003, Nike stepped in and bought the struggling brand for $305 million. This was a turning point for Converse. Under Nike's ownership, Converse was able to refocus and tap into its heritage while also innovating for the future. Nike's resources allowed Converse to re-establish itself in the fashion world and once again become a must-have sneaker. Instead of trying to compete directly with high-tech basketball shoes, Converse leaned into its strengths: classic, timeless design and cultural relevance. The Chuck Taylor All-Stars remained a beloved style, but now Converse began experimenting with new materials, collaborations, and limited edition releases to keep the brand fresh. Today, Converse is more than just a sneaker brand. It's a cultural icon. You can find Chuck Taylors on the feet of musicians, actors, athletes, and everyday people. From high-fashion runways to backyard barbecues, Converse has found a way to remain relevant across generations and lifestyles. The brand continues to evolve, collaborating with designers and artists from all over the world. They've expanded their product line to include everything from high-top sneakers to skate shoes, all while staying true to the original spirit of Converse: simplicity, individuality, and self-expression. So, there you have it, the incredible history of Converse. From a small rubber shoe company to one of the most iconic brands in the world, Converse has managed to stay relevant for over a century. Whether you're a basketball fan, a punk rocker, or just someone who appreciates a good pair of sneakers, there's no denying the impact that Converse has had on the world of footwear and fashion. So, what's your favorite pair of Converse? Let me know in the comments below. And if you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of simple things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.